the Ron and Brian Podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
All right. Hello and welcome. It's episode 154 of the Ron and Brian Podcast. That's right. It is time for the 3-year anniversary. Brian, how are you today, my friend?
I'm in a celebrating mood.
Okay.
I feel like celebrating. I am celebrating. It's a celebration. 3 years, my friend. 3 years ago, you and I sat about an hour and a half away over audio. We couldn't see each other, if I'm not correct. There was no streaming.
No, not at that time.
There were 2 MP3 files. I had terrible audio.
The whole show was terrible audio.
And yet, and this is where I truly feel like people have to respect us, we still put it out.
We put it out there.
We didn't trash it and say this has no business being out there for the public. Right now, anybody with with a internet connection could go online, find episode 1, and just cringe for 60 minutes.
Right. Fairly 1 through 10. Fairly horrible.
That's right. You know what we should do?
Sound-wise.
What we should do, no, I think it was also terrible just content-wise. Probably. What we should do one day for a special Patreon is we should listen to one of our very early shows and just critique it as, just play a little bit, stop, we'll comment, we'll rip it apart. We'll play a little bit more. Then we do that, but put that behind the paywall for those. Right.
Special event type thing. All right. Well, should we get this 3rd-year anniversary show on the road, Brian?
Feel like we already did, my friend.
All right. Let's have our drink of the week.
Drink of the week.
Salud.
Drink of the week. Pleasure.
Drink of the week.
Brian, you and I got a very nice gift for our 3rd-year anniversary. Perhaps you would like to talk a little bit about this tasty little beverage that the two of us will be consuming tonight, both having the same thing.
This was
number 6.
This was a true treat. And this is one of those moments where you realize that your hard work, your efforts, your labor, and when I say I mean literally your. I put very little effort into this show. But this is one of the moments where you realize that people are out there listening. They're following. They're paying attention. The kind people over at the Macallan, as a way to congratulate us on our 3rd-year anniversary, sent us bottles of their limited edition number 6. Now, this comes out once a year for the past 6 years. They're not doing it anymore. And basically, this was a very small batch of scotch that they're making, that they put out. It kind of exemplifies the approach to scotch that they're taking this year. And with the special edition number 6, if I can just, give you a couple thoughts off the top of my head. The 6th and final release of the Macallan Edition series takes its inspiration from the natural wonders of the legendary River Spey and the Macallan Estate, where each and every cask of the Macallan is matured before being hand-selected for use by their expert whiskey makers. Ron, all of the 5 distinct cask types used to create the special edition number 6 have been hand-painted by the Macallan whiskey maker Stephen Brenmer.
Oh,
He drew inspiration from unique stories related to the river and the surrounding landscapes. The American and European oak casks have been selected to create a flavor profile that will deliver a multifaceted experience, from the appealing, rich brass natural color to the layers of aroma, followed by the deep and rewarding flavor. Ron, when you look at the special edition number 6, you're going to see a color that I would best describe as antique brass.
Yeah, I would too.
When you open it, and you take a whiff, you smell what's the aroma? Rich, fresh fruits,
Yeah.
nutmeg, ginger,
Yep,
chocolate,
little ginger.
toffee, vanilla, and oak. When you
Can I
first
drink this?
taste it,
Are we getting there? Can I drink this?
oh yeah, you can start drinking. I'm still trying to open it.
All right.
When you taste it, the palate, you're going to taste plum, sweet orange, a little cinnamon, maybe nutmeg, a balanced oak, toffee, and more oats.
Stuff.
Then the finish, after you swallow, long, fresh fruit with spices turning to creamy chocolate and toasted oats, coming in at an ABV of 48.6.
It's heavy.
Ronald, the kind people over at the Macallan have provided us with the bottles of Special Edition 6. And I'm going to say this to you. I'm going to toast you because you deserve this. You deserve this moment, Ron. We would not be here without you.
So you're doing yours on ice. I did my neat. It's very good neat. Tell me how yours is on ice.
I believe a little bit of
And you know what I really like? I like a little bit of water in my whiskey at times. But you really want a clean, crisp, fresh water. The only kind of water that's really good, of course, next level hydrogen water. I'm going to give this a little splash to thin that out a little bit. And let's see here. I think Brian's going to do the same thing. Oh, yeah. Oh, my Lord. That is good.
It's so good.
That is good. All right. Well, while Brian enjoys that, we have to move on. Oh, be careful with that. It spits a little bit. And it is time. Unfortunately, we do it every week. We've done it almost every week for the last 3 years. It's This Week in Racism.
This
Week
in
racism.
racism.
So, Brian, I know you put the word out on the street. You talked to America. You said, America, we've got our 3-year anniversary coming up this week. If you could, just cut out the racism just for a week, just to
no
make
racism, no racism.
And America responded the only way it knows how, Brian. I've got 3 pages to get through. And as I said, we're going to try and keep it tight, keep it to a tight 10. I don't want to take up the entire show, 10 minutes or less. This week in racism, let's get right into it.
Do we not start the clock? Is Janelle prepared with the clock?
I think she is. She's very good at that. So we're getting right into this right here. Colorado State Representative Richard Holtorf, who previously showed how much of an asshole he is by telling a colleague that he should just get over the murder of his son in the Aurora movie theater shooting, pissed everyone off again by referring to a colleague as buckwheat while speaking on the House floor. He then commented it was an endearing term. Piedmont, California school officials are apologizing after organizing a support circle for white students to be able to share their thoughts and feelings in the wake of the Derek Chauvin conviction. An email from the assistant superintendent went out stating there would be 2 counselors available, one for white students and one for everyone else. In an attempt to prove why critical race theory shouldn't be taught in schools, Tennessee GOP State Representative Justin Lafferty falsely claimed that the 3/5 compromise was to end slavery. Now, this is not a repeat of the critical race theory and 3/5 compromise from 2 weeks ago. That story was in Colorado. However, the GOP in Oklahoma is also looking to ban critical race theory. And during discussions on a House bill that would do just that, GOP Representative Justin Humphrey shocked fellow lawmakers by equating Black Lives Matter with the KKK. India, yes, you've got a timeout here. Yes, stop the clock.
Can you tell me what is critical race theory?
Well, you're getting ahead of me. I'll tell you in just the end of this next story because Idaho Governor Brad Little signed a bill pushed by state Republicans to restrict critical race theory from being taught in the state's schools and universities. The bill, H377, prevents teachers from, quote, indoctrinating students into belief systems that claim that members of any race, sex, religion, ethnicity, or national origin are inferior or superior to other groups. H377 also makes it illegal to make students affirm, adopt, or adhere to beliefs that members of these groups are today responsible for past actions of the groups to which they claim to belong. However, critical race theory actually has nothing to do with any race of people at the individual level and is really an academic study on how the undeniable systemic racism in America's history has been embedded in American law and other institutions that exist today. We're going to go over to Mississippi now, where Governor Tate Reeves made the news this week by going on Fox to say that there is not systemic racism in America. He said this during the same week where he had off on Monday because it was Confederate Memorial Day in his state, towards the end of what he declared on April 7th to be Confederate Heritage Month. Former Wilkinson County, Georgia Sheriff Deputy Cody Richard Griggers pled guilty in federal court to possession of an unregistered firearm. More disturbing than that is the investigation turned up text messages from him about beating a black suspect and planning to arrest black people on trumped-up felony charges to keep them from voting. A student-led Zoom lecture at the University of Texas at Austin was interrupted when a masked man began loading a gun on camera. Alberto Martinez, a history professor researching the racist origins of the school's fight song, was giving a lecture titled Investigating the Eyes of Texas when a man wearing a beanie with a bandana covering most of his face appeared on camera loading a tactical shotgun. Martinez reported the incident to university police, who say they are investigating, but there is no word on what potential consequences the perpetrator could face. Big Lake School District in Minnesota has disciplined 2 students due to a promposal photo that went viral, showing the students holding a sign that said, "If I was black, I'd be picking cotton, but I'm white, so I'm picking you." Prom? The father of the boy in the photo says his family is receiving threats, while the mother of the girl had no comment. Boeing announced last week that it has fired 65 employees for racist or discriminatory conduct over the past year and disciplined dozens more as it released a report on the number of people of color and women in its ranks for the first time. As part of a zero-tolerance approach, the aerospace company said it terminated the employees and took corrective action against 53 others for, quote, racist, discriminatory, or otherwise hateful conduct between June 2020 and April 2021. Just 6.4% of Boeing employees are black, according to the diversity report, while nearly 69% are white. White parents in the Rockwood School District in Missouri were up in arms after a planned anti-racism curriculum that was to be taught to their children was leaked. Parents attended a forum where many of them commented that they don't want critical race theory taught, but that doesn't mean they're racist. The issue has become so controversial that the district confirms hiring at-home security patrols for some of their administrators who are getting death threats. The curriculum issue isn't the only thing to rock the Rockwood School District this year. Parents resisted plans to start the 2020 school year online, and recently administrators caught criticism for removing the thin blue line altered image of the American flag from Eureka High School baseball hats. A college debate tournament was canceled after Morehouse and other colleges withdrew, citing racism of other schools. The tournament was on Zoom, and the black debaters could see and hear white debaters from other colleges mocking them and using racist gestures and comments. They say the judges and organizers did nothing to stop it. The schools commented that there have been many issues with anti-blackness in these debates before, and it wasn't until other schools withdrew and it had to cancel the tournament that the organizing committee began listening to the concerns of black debaters and released a statement apologizing for ignoring their complaints in the past. A New Jersey high school teacher was removed from his position after he was recorded cursing at students and calling George Floyd a fucking criminal during a Zoom session. Howard Zlotkin's class at Dickinson High School in Jersey City began with a discussion on climate change before turning into an expletive-filled rant. "If you think I'm privileged, then fuck you, because my daughter thinks I'm privileged and I don't speak to her." At one point, he appears to give a student the middle finger as he says, "fuck you." He also said, "I hear people whining and crying about Black Lives Matter, but George Floyd was a fucking criminal, and he got arrested, and he got killed because he wouldn't comply. And the bottom line is we make him a fucking hero." Slotkin has been suspended from teaching while the district investigates, and he has also been suspended from being an adjunct professor at Hudson Valley Community College. Students at an Arizona high school have been disciplined after a short video of them reenacting the murder of George Floyd began circulating on Twitter. The 6-second video posted last week shows a kid kneeling on the back of another student's neck at Highland High School in Gilbert, Arizona. Over the past few years, students at Highland High have been accused of racist behavior, such as 2 students using the N-word in a video and a photo with students posting with the OK white supremacy hand gesture. Butch Gent, a volunteer chief of the McDonald Green Volunteer Fire Department in Lancaster County, South Carolina, suggested on Facebook that police could, quote, stop responding to these black neighborhoods because black people will eventually kill each other and the fake news won't have a story. He apologized for the post, but claimed that it wasn't racist as it was intended to target the news media. He would later resign due to the backlash from the post. 3 suspects have been charged in home invasion of a black family in Walled Lake, Michigan. Just after midnight last Monday, a mother and her 2 children were awakened by sounds of intruders breaking into their home. The 13-year-old son heard the commotion and woke up his 9-year-old brother. Moments later, the 2 boys' mother was in their room armed with a gun and shooting through the bedroom window at the intruders. She called her husband, who was working overnight in Detroit while all of this was going on, and he said he could hear the attackers using the N-word while threatening his family. Police arrived and arrested 2 white men and 1 white woman. Michael Graves and Brandon Odegaard have been charged with first-degree home invasion and ethnic intimidation, while Macy Pietrega was charged with first-degree aiding and abetting home invasion and ethnic intimidation. And a white woman in Berkeley, California, went after a black Amazon driver for allegedly speeding and ended up charged with a hate crime. Kendall McIntosh, the Amazon driver in question, told local news that after accusing him of speeding, Julie Walrand and her boyfriend began following him, and at one point she jumped into his vehicle and tried to take control of the steering wheel. Walrand and her boyfriend were also cursing and shouting the N-word at McIntosh. Police arrested Walrand after the altercation and charged her with battery, false imprisonment, and hate crimes, including using offensive words and willfully threatening a person based on their perceived characteristics. And before we finish up, we've got a couple stories in Racism Rewind.
Racism Rewind.
And last June, we reported on a couple from New York, Philip Sarner and Emily Orbe, who were caught on video attacking a black hotel clerk in Connecticut. An attorney for the victim, Crystal Caldwell, says he believes the attack was racially motivated because racial comments and slurs were made while she was being beaten by the white man, who was also alleged to have made harassing phone calls to the attorney. On Wednesday, the couple appeared in court, but witnesses say that on their way to court, they were met by protesters who the couple allegedly appeared to mock, which the attorney says shows the couple's lack of remorse. The state attorney's office offered a plea deal to Sarner and Orbe on Wednesday. If they plead guilty to all charges, Sarner would be sentenced to 9 years in prison, suspended after 5 years served and 3 years probation. Orbe would be sentenced to 6 years behind bars, suspended after 2 years, followed by 3 years probation. The couple is due back in court in July to either accept or reject the plea deals, and then follow up on probably one of the worst stories we've covered in the last 3 years in This Week in Racism. And that was for 23 years, Bobby Paul Edwards, who owned the J&J Cafeteria in Conway, South Carolina, enslaved John Christopher Smith, an intellectually disabled black man who Edwards beat and forced to work long hours for literally no pay. Smith worked 18 hours a day, 6 days a week, and was forced to live in a cockroach-infested apartment behind the business. In 2019, Edwards pled guilty to 1 count of forced labor and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. And as part of an initial settlement, Smith was awarded $273,000 in unpaid wages and overtime compensation, while the Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit just recently doubled that amount to $546,000. So hopefully Mr. Smith will actually be able to see some of that. I may have run a little bit over 10 minutes. It was a lot of racism to get to on this, our 3-year anniversary.
That was so fucking depressing. It's all over America. It's all different types of it in your school, police, your neighbors, the workplace. It's pervasive. Not every American's racist. I mean, not every career, but it's just so fucking depressing.
It's a lot that you can do 2 or 3 pages of it each and every week. 11 minutes, 27.47 seconds. So
far, since we've been counting, that's a record.
Tried to keep it tight. All right. Well, let's keep rolling along here with Beef of the Week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
All right. Still, after 3 years, the best bumper we've created. I feel. I mean, I know you're a fan of Stonks.
Stonks.
But I'm still partial to Beef of the Week. Anyway.
I do like Stonks.
Brian, what's your beef?
People who can't hang.
Really? Can you care to elaborate on that a little bit?
People who make commitments to social activities and want to leave before these social activities are over.
So kind of a party pooper, if you will.
Those are your words, not mine. Recently, I attended a social event. It was socially distanced. Masks were required with 2 people that are very near and dear to me. This event is it's structured into 9 different sections. Each section has 2 subsections. So, it's I would say, having been to events similar to this, I would say that this event should have lasted somewhere between 2.5 and 3 hours.
Sounds like a baseball game.
And one of the people that I attended this event with during the fourth section of this event announced that they wanted to go home. And the other 2 people, myself included, because we are caring individuals, we are loving, we are protective. Where we go one, we go all. I mean, this is not, every person for themselves.
The team effort.
Yeah, a team effort, and no person gets left behind or sent out early into an Uber. So therefore, this event that I attended, I left in the 4th section.
Well, I'm sorry if that ruined your social outing.
No, Ron, it's not your place to apologize. You don't have to apologize for this person. And what's worse is this other person showed anger.
Contempt, I think, is a good word.
That we were showing concern for this person. They were like, just let me go and do whatever I want. I'm fine on my own. And it was just, no.
All right.
Where we go one, we go all.
A legitimate beef, Brian. I will give you that much.
Ron?
Yes.
What's bothering you?
My beef this week is with streaming services that don't release an entire season at once, that release the episodes once a week. So, Disney Plus has been doing this with the Marvel shows, but now Handmaid's Tale back for another season on Hulu. And again, just 1 episode per week. So now I'm all caught up and I got to wait a week.
That's, I feel your pain. The thing that made these streaming services great was that they gave you the ability to binge watch a show in a short period of time, whether it was a weekend, an evening, whatnot, and then it created a buzz.
And Netflix is confident enough that if you blow through one series, that they're going to have plenty of other content to keep you being a subscriber. But the Disney Pluses and Hulus of the world, and Amazon Prime, because they do that with The Boys and Jack Ryan.
HBO Max did it with Woody versus Soon-Yi versus Mia.
So they drag it out. It makes it very painful. They want to see
that's a beef.
You want to hear an interesting statistic? Just apart from the beef, Disney Plus already has half as many subscribers as Netflix does.
I want to be surprised, but Disney Plus has the entire Disney catalog as well as the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
It also has the Monster Verse.
I don't know that they have them. They have the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they have the Jeff Goldblum show. So it's really well.
What's the Jeff Goldblum show?
Like, he literally just goes around and learns things and talks to people.
Is that any good?
It's out there. Like, if you were drinking, it's probably a pretty good show to watch.
I could see that being pretty good.
Yeah, depending on the topic, it can be interesting.
Okay. All right. Ron, how does it feel? 3 years.
You know what? It's hard to believe that it's been 3 years. And speaking with my wife earlier, she's like, "What's this, 2 years?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "It's 3 years." She's like, "Wow, it seems like much longer." And I didn't know how to take that exactly.
I hope you gave her
I'm a little frightened of her. You know that. As we all should be.
When she says we're leaving, we leave. Ron, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Are you ready for What Would Ron Do?
Oh, we have another edition of What Would Ron Do? I know you pulled this out last week. We received cards. We received telegrams. We received emails. We received texts. We received some WhatsApp
smoke signals. We had some smoke signals.
People loved What Would Ron Do? So, yes, Brian, hit me up with this week in What Would Ron Do?
Are you going to play the intro music or no?
You know what? We haven't gotten that back from the producers yet. So I will.
Fucking Beaker. Okay. This past week, I was watching a baseball game while texting a friend of mine who was also watching it at home.
Okay.
And the manager of the Houston Astros came out to chat with the pitcher who was struggling at the time. And my friend, who I'm now reconsidering whether this person should be my friend, but that's not the question of what would Ron do.
Okay. All right.
So so Dusty Baker, who is an African-American human being, has been just an incredible baseball player and an incredible manager. He comes out to talk to his pitcher, and my friend texts me, and I wrote this down. Other than quotas, why is Dusty Baker still managing? I'm going to let that sink in, Ron.
Okay.
The vile nature of that comment.
Right.
The hatred towards minorities, the ugliness of humanity being exposed. Now, Dusty Baker, 19-year career, hard-hitting outfielder, played with the Dodgers, who he helped win pennants in 77 and 78, took him to the World Championship in 81, managed the San Francisco Giants, Chicago Cubs, Cincinnati Reds, Washington Nationals, led the Giants to the 2002 National League pennant. He is the one of 6 managers to reach the postseason 10 times. Ron?
He's got a resume behind him.
He is a national treasure. I sat there, and when my friend spewed this vileness, I did nothing.
Brian, this is...
What would Ron do? What would Ron do?
This is the thing, Brian. It is not enough to be against racism. You need to be actively anti-racist.
I know that. And I failed.
For you. Teachable moment.
I failed.
That's where you text back and you're like, you know what? It's not cool anymore. The Houston Astros may suck, but it's not because of Dusty Baker. And it's certainly not because of the color of Dusty Baker's skin. The Houston Astros may be cheaters and lowlives.
They are.
But that's on them, not on Dusty.
They are. Are we ready to start the show? I mean, we're only a half an hour in.
Yeah, I mean, we can get to it. Start this this third year. Do we want to talk about baseball? Because I'd like to hear your comparison.
Sure.
You mentioned we were at a Philadelphia Phillies game this past weekend at Citizens Bank Park. You have been lucky enough to be to Yankee Stadium for a Yankees game and to Citi Field for a Mets game. So you have been to 3 different stadiums. Give me your take on baseball in a post-COVID world in New York and Philadelphia.
I'm going to say this: the experience as a fan is very similar in all 3 stadiums. Yankee Stadium was the one that I found the most sparse in terms of concessions, in terms of options, beverages, food. It felt like it was you were going to like a practice day. This did not feel like going to a major league stadium. What I will say is that they were very lax and understanding that most of their fans were fully vaccinated and did not or had recently tested negative for the coronavirus. So therefore, mask wearing in a socially distanced environment while sitting outside was not very, did not need to be aggressively enforced. Citi Field, better food options. It felt like there were more people in the stadium only because it's a smaller stadium than Yankee Stadium. However, I've got to say, Philly's Veteran Stadium, is that what it's called now?
Citizens Bank Park.
There you go, Veteran Stadium. I will say this, incredible beer selection for those that want a malted beverage. And I very much enjoy the food options. I will say that the ushers were mask Nazis.
Well, it depended on the section you were in. Clearly ours was.
But it was not universally enforced. And at the same time, I will say that one of the biggest differences is that to get into Yankee Stadium or Citi Field, because they're in New York, they're abiding by Governor Cuomo's ruling that everybody to get into the stadium needs to either be fully vaccinated or needs to have had a negative COVID test, 3 days for the PCR, 6 hours for the rapid. While in Philadelphia, it literally was, hey, just if you're not feeling well, stay home.
And you think we're joking, but it's a literal bullet point on their website. Like, if you don't feel well, maybe don't attend the game today. And that was it. But the food was killer. The chicken sandwich and donuts from Federal Donuts.
Chicken sandwich was on point.
The crab fries and cheese sauce from Chicky and Pete's. Had we stayed longer, probably a cheesesteak would have been in our future.
Yep, Tony Luke's.
Maybe a hoagie, maybe some water ice.
You beat me to it. I love that Philly accent. I picked up your wife's has somewhat of a Philly accent. I never really noticed it, but she said a few words in the car while we were heading over to the stadium. I remember sitting there thinking, I want to point this out, but I do not want to get slapped.
And Billy was asking if we drank any local Philly beer. I don't know if Yards. I didn't see Yards. We drank some Yinglings, and then Federal Donuts had their own beer that was canned by Conshohocken Brewing. That was a strawberry and lavender beer. And then I forget what we finished off with. I think it was just. I think we really hit the Yingling hard.
Yeah.
I'm sure they had Yards there somewhere, but we just didn't. We just didn't partake.
And then why don't you give a shout out to the brewery within your neighborhood?
And then afterwards, we walked down to, Brian and I did anyway, because someone had a little bit too much fun and decided 8:30 was a good bedtime. So Brian and I walked down to Cheshire Brewery, located in the Creekside Market and Tap, and had a couple of beers, and they had some live music going. And it was a good time.
And we watched the end of the baseball game on TV that we were attending earlier that evening, which really was the large slap in the face.
Was the larger slap the fact that you had bet on the Phillies and they gave up that home run in the top of the ninth to lose to the Mets?
Oh, that hurt. That hurt. That was wrong.
And then we walked home, which we walked home. I don't recall walking home, but we walked home.
Oh no, I remember walking home. It was dark, and I remember there were very few cars on the road.
And no place to get a cheese stick.
Were we looking? I don't think so.
I mean, are you ever not looking to have a cheesesteak? It would be my question.
Well, it used to be one of my requirements to come down to Philly, but apparently not. Speaking of not getting a cheesesteak, Ron, how are we doing on our weight loss?
We're kind of flat after our trip to the Phillies, but still down like 25 pounds. So at least, not going in the wrong direction. Let myself enjoy myself.
Yes.
The Phillies game. But yeah, we're back on track.
I remember one time in college, you let me enjoy you.
This is important news coming out this week, our 3-year anniversary. So Japanese researchers have released a study that discovered that men with large noses tend to have large penises as well. To determine the connection, scientists examined the bodies of 126 recently deceased middle-aged men, measuring everything from the cadaver's height and weight to the circumference and length of their flaccid members. Scientists approximated the measurements of the subject's manhood when erect by laying each stiff down and extending the penis up as high as it would go. They then compared the results to the lengths of their noses. They found that men with 2.2-inch noses packed larger penises that clocked in at 5.3 inches long. Meanwhile, corpses with noses smaller than 1.8 inches packed manhoods measuring only up to 4.1 inches. Rounding out in the middle were medium noses who came in at about 4.5 inches, reportedly the average penis size in Japan.
Yeah. 60% of the time, I'm flaccid every time.
While researchers
now, Ron, what does that make? What do you not find it somewhat ironic that that they did this in Japan, which has stereotypically and clearly, I'm not saying that I know this for a fact, but I've seen some movies where the men of Japan are not necessarily known for their large noses.
I mean, like the article said, their average penis length 4.5 inches. They're all about the penis in Japan. The penis.
I thought they were about the octopus that are raping schoolgirls on the way home from school.
They're about the tentacle sex as well. They're about buying used schoolgirl underwear from vending machines, I believe, and a nice cup of tea.
Also, like bukkake, very big on bukkake.
They're fans.
Raping women on subways, very big on that.
Buses, yes.
Working until they are exhausted and sleeping in the street. Large drinkers. Very much afraid of Godzilla. I don't know why. I mean, you watch the movies Saturdays at 5:00. Godzilla suddenly comes out of the ocean and Tokyo loses their minds.
And that's the thing. You would imagine that they are not into the MonsterVerse because Tokyo always gets destroyed.
Ooh.
You right there? Something the Macallan kicking back.
Now the water went down the wrong pipe.
Valid comment here. Japan has less school shootings, so maybe that has something to do with the tentacle hentai.
Run that by me again? I'm dying over here.
They have less school shootings in Japan, so that might have something to do with the tentacle porn.
I don't really get the tentacle porn. First off, I don't get the porn. I don't get the animated porn. It's way more disturbing than real porn.
Really? Why?
You don't.
I can't. I have not watched enough to really give you a good. But I feel you have experienced enough to talk with some level of knowledge.
The Japanese animated porn that I have been exposed to. The women are all schoolgirls. Implication there, they're underage, and a lot of the sexual activity is done through force, whether it's an animal that is like an octopus or a Godzilla or BTS, whether they are raping the schoolgirls or overpowering them sexually,
Right.
or the schoolgirls become super powerful, and then they, peg the old teachers, the old crusty teachers, with the comb over a la Edward James Olmos.
You have a lot more information on this subject than I really wished you did. It's concerning to me. I'm not gonna lie.
Listen, I think I've got another 3 minutes on Japanese animated porn. I'm going to end it here because I know we have a lot that we also want to get to, and I don't want to lose any more listeners.
Right. You certainly would not want to run off on a tangent and just talk a lot.
No,
Not
who
you are.
when we reviewed our notes at the end of every episode, you always sit there and tell me I'm getting much better at that.
I always say, if you could contribute more to the show, that's what I usually say.
This is I prefer to do my my contributions during the show, not in preparation of the show.
Understood. This next story, kind of sad. A heartless crook stole a prosthetic arm belonging to a college baseball pitcher in South Dakota. The pitcher's name is Peter Hansen. Apparently, he left it in a unlocked car outside of his home when a thief was caught on surveillance camera stealing it this past Monday morning.
That's terrible, Ron. That's really terrible. So you've got this college pitcher, throws with one arm and he has a prosthetic arm on the other. These college players, the NCAA does not allow them to be paid salaries. So those things, those arms are not cheap. I heard that the cost to replace one of those is an arm and a leg. No, hold up. I'm not done yet. Whoever stole that arm, you really got to give him a hand. That takes a lot of nerve.
Anything else?
I heard the pitcher had a great fastball, but he got in trouble for carrying a firearm. I heard that they.
It would have taken some elbow grease to get in that car otherwise.
I heard they did actually arrest the thief. He said it was his constitutional right to bear arms.
Now, when he was arrested, was there a lineup, and was the guy able to finger him in the lineup?
Oh, that's good.
You like that?
That's all I have. That was good. Those were good.
To be fair for the thief, the prosthetic arm and other equipment were inside of a tan Nike backpack. So the guy just stole the backpack, just looking to be a regular asshole, but ended up being a tremendous asshole because he didn't give it back. They
found the bag. They found the bag, but he took the arm out and kept it.
That's fucked up.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, that's so wrong. So wrong. Yeah, and so the prosthetic arm was made specifically for him. He's using a backup one that doesn't fit as well. So again, since he plays NCAA, he can't, no one can do a GoFundMe for this guy. He can't accept money. He can't accept, even if someone wanted to be like, hey, here's a new prosthetic arm for you.
Yeah.
I wonder, does your car insurance cover a stolen prosthetic limb?
You're asking the wrong person, Ron. I don't have a car.
Good point. Let's see. Well, we found out this week that police don't just like to shoot and kill black people. They also apparently don't mind shooting and killing babies as well. This is in Mississippi, where a baby boy died from injuries he suffered when police gunned down his murder suspect father. The 3-month-old child was traveling with his father, Eric Durrell Smith, age 30, who had been wanted in connection with a double homicide investigation in Louisiana. They attempted to arrest him in Mississippi and apparently fired at the father, and the baby took a bullet and despite medical efforts, did not survive.
It's so fucking sad.
Yes.
I mean, no offense, but why wouldn't you aim not for the baby?
I think it was a case of the baby was just in the car and the police didn't necessarily perhaps know, or I don't know. Listen, we know that, police tend to just fire without maybe looking where they're firing at.
Yeah. Or couldn't they have aimed lower?
They're always going to aim for, center mass. But, again, it's a case of, even when you're firing, at him outside of the car, it could have been a kid, it could have been a passenger, it could have been anybody. So,
this would have been a perfect time for them to use the taser.
Well, maybe they thought they were grabbing the taser and grabbed the fire.
Tase the baby hits the floor. The guy's going to drop the baby because now the baby's electrified. So he's going to drop the baby. And now you got a clean shot at the guy. Or he holds the baby and then they both drop to the floor. I think this is a perfect opportunity for the cops to have used a taser.
You would think there has to, but they don't like going with a non-lethal approach.
Not big fans. Ron, do you remember Truly Tasteless jokes?
I do remember Truly Tasteless jokes. That was a very 80s thing, where if you going to school and somebody would have a copy of one of the multiple books of Truly Tasteless jokes. I feel like you want to share a joke about a baby, which would be incredibly inappropriate at this moment.
No, I'm not going to. What's red, white, and bubbly?
I don't know.
Baby in a microwave.
Thank you for sharing that.
That's the only one I remember off the top of my head. I wish I could get my hands on a copy of that. By the way, that's an offensive joke, and I do not put your babies in microwaves, even if it's not on. You don't know; those things are always emitting some level of blue waves. What is it they use?
I believe 5G, the newer one.
Yeah. No wonder my bread always comes out shitty when I take it in the microwave.
Game of Thrones actor Esme Bianco has filed a lawsuit against Marilyn Manson, whom she accused of sexual abuse in February, back when Evan Rachel Wood and at least 3 other women came forward to make similar allegations against him. Why, it seems like we have so many people that have made allegations against Marilyn Manson, and yet nothing apart from this lawsuit being filed. I don't know that anything has happened.
But isn't there like a statute of limitations?
I don't know. But
this woman literally showed photos of her back.
Right.
She says literally is just scarred in a crosshatch platform of pattern from Marilyn Manson literally cutting her with a knife.
But yeah,
in sex play.
And also according to
he didn't throw a knife at her from across the room multiple times.
But according to the lawsuit, she was in her music video for his song "I Want to Kill You" like they do in the movies, which she said involved him tying her up, beating her with a whip, and electrocuting her. On another occasion, he chased her around his apartment with an axe and cut her with a knife during sex. And that he raped her back in 2011 when they were in a relationship together.
What's the name of this video?
I Want to Kill You like they do in the movies. So apparently Manson is currently the subject of an LA County Sheriff's Department Special Victims Bureau criminal investigation, which launched in February, back when all these came out. So apparently there is an investigation going on. We will see if anything comes of it.
He probably deserves to be in jail.
Probably. Should we, I almost forgot, being our 3-year anniversary, we have some special videos to get to. Should we play some of them before we run out of time here?
Now keep in mind there were so many that were submitted. Hundreds were submitted. We decided to pick the cream of the crop, the best of the best.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of them were trash.
But they all came from sincerity. They came from a place of love. I think what we're going to do is we are going to stitch them together and put out a video sometime in the next week or so. The best of the Ron and Brian listeners expressing their love for Ron and Brian.
Well, this first one, our youngest, but I would dare argue our smartest listener, Athena.
I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to answer it however you want, all right? Okay. You got to look at me when you answer. So how has the Ron and Brian podcast changed your life?
It actually makes me happy and shares everyone my joy.
Is that how it's changed your life?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was really, I think, kind of a central theme of a lot of the videos, happiness and joy that we bring to people.
That's the next generation, Ron. That's the next generation.
Billy was nice enough to get us a cameo from pro wrestler Danhausen.
Danhausen here. Danhausen, very nice, very evil, very famous, if you will. You know this. Coming into this, you absolutely know. Okay, what is this? This is from William Hausen and Esquire Hausen, or William, Esquire Hausen, who knows? Yes, anyways, the Ron and Brian podcast is celebrating their 3rd anniversary. Very evil. Also, you shall listen or be cursed. And also, let's see, PSS. It's good that Ron Hausen finally got the job. It's quite wonderful, if you will. And also, a love of cooking oils, whatever that may mean. Boil it. So it says Brian Hausen has spent $900 at a strip club once and bailing out an ex-wife that threw a knife at him. Okay, but that sounds quite wonderful. Spend your monies. That Danhausen thinks that's wonderful. So, do it. Have a very nice, very evil day. Love that Danhausen. May our enemies be cursed.
I mean, he really did. He hit a lot. He hit a lot of what really encapsulates the show over the last 3 years.
He hit the high points.
Yep.
You know, I mean, when you think about it, what are the moments that, keep getting brought up over and over again? The fact that you have struggled with stable employment.
Yep.
You have thrown yourself into the world of culinary masterpieces executed via a variety of oils. The fact that I once went to a strip club and spent $900 because I lack self-control. And then I had an ex who threw a knife at me.
There you go. Now, Brian.
Hit them all.
Mind. I got you a little something.
Oh, no, you didn't. We weren't supposed to. We said we weren't doing anything. No.
So I got you a very special cameo, and which I feel is overly long. It goes off the rails, and it just goes to weird places. But I still feel that I need to play it because I think it's still funny at the end of the day. By a former joke writer for the Howard Stern show. That's right. Jackie the Joke Man
Some
Martin.
guy knocks on his neighbor's door, and the neighbor answers, "Hey, man, since the COVID hit, I haven't seen your wife." His neighbor says, "Oh, she's out back in the garden." He says, "Well, I was just out there. I didn't see her." His neighbor says, "Oh, you got to dig down a little." The girl calls the doctor. She says, "Doc, I got diarrhea. Can I take a bath?" He says, "If you got enough." A guy says to a librarian, "I need a book on suicide." She says, "Fuck you, you won't bring it back." A guy walks in, his wife's watching TV. She's yelling at the screen, "Don't do it, you run, don't go in that church." He says, "What are you watching?" She says, "Our wedding video." An old guy's sitting at the bar. Bartender says, "How old are you?" The guy says, 97. 97? What's your secret? "One time I blew a guy for his watch." "No, I mean the secret to your longevity." "Oh, I eat fruits and vegetables."
I will say this went much longer than I anticipated. So let me know if you need me to bail or if you just
No. Keep it going.
Hey, Brian. I know that was the good news. Here's the bad news. It seems you've been friends with Ron for 25 years, and he would like to call a halt to the friendship. And being a pussy, he did not want to tell you himself. So he's doing it with a cameo, which is ridiculous. And he saw me on stage 40 years ago, and he thinks that gives him the right to ask me to break up his. I don't know if you're a bunch of homos or just good pals, or if you're banging each other's wives, or you're married to his sister. I don't know. And to tell you the truth, at these prices, I really don't make enough to give a fuck. I do know that I love Philadelphia, and I was doing very well in Philadelphia long before I even met Howard. And I love the Comedy Factory outlet and the
I really don't know where he gets to all this. I just mentioned that I saw him in Philly like years ago. And I love how he has to mention, like, I was doing great in Philly even before Howard.
I love the fact that he feels the need to mention Howard.
And Bananas and all those places. And Ron said he saw me in South Philly in the 90s. That's where I recorded my very first CD called The Joke Man at the Funny Bone, which was the greatest little club. And I had such a good time in Philadelphia. Listen, you guys are doing a podcast. If you'd like some jokes for your podcast, just email me. I'd be glad to send you some jokes just like this, making fun of whoever or whatever. Love Philadelphia. My email's jokeland@AOL.com, JOKELAND@AOL.com. And I'll leave you with one more joke. And congratulations on your friendship. And put me on your podcast. Get me laid. Send me a pizza. Do something. I'm fucking 95 years old and I'm doing cameo.com. Give me a break. I should be president. Maybe not. Or at least a Boy Scout leader. Lots of cute young guys. So a girl goes to the high school prom. Next day she sends her mother a text. Mom, the prom was great, but now, Mom, I'm at the beach and I'm freaking out. I got cum in my hair. Her mother sends back a text. Honey, I'm glad the prom was great. Listen, sometimes when you're sucking a guy's cock and he wants to come all over your face, he'll pull his dick out of your mouth and they can't really control where it goes. And sometimes some of it goes in your hair. But it's not a big deal. Just jump in the water. It'll wash right out. And she sends her mother back a text. Mom, thanks for the info, but I meant to type gum. Brian, Ronnie, congratulations. Good luck on your podcast. And here's a little promo. Hey, folks, this is Ron and Brian's podcast. You might be listening for the first time, and if you are, I'm pretty sure you're listening for the last time. Sex Takes a Holiday with Brian and Ron. You want some real good jokes? Dial 516-922-WINE. That's 516-922-9463. Filthy jokes 24/7. Free jokes for the universe since 1979. My dick is 8 inches, which is a little too wide for a lot of broads. But aside from that, I would just like to say that Brian and Ron, I hope that you both take a shit and fall back in it.
He's still doing the joke line?
He is still doing the joke line. The only thing I think he missed was a plug for the Joke Master and the Joke Master Jr.
What was the phone number?
516-922-WINE.
WINE?
Yes. It is still the same number. Yes, Billy nailed it on the head. I got my money's worth with this cameo. The best $30 I ever spent.
That's the best cameo of. That's incredible. Only because he's so he rambles so well, and I do believe that there's a soundbite in there that we can use.
Oh yeah, well, I'll pull a clip of his promo for us.
I'm a little angry. I can't believe he did a cameo without telling me.
Not his best jokes though. I've heard better.
Well, I mean, would you want good jokes out of him? I don't think so.
You're not going to use your A material for a $30 cameo.
No, but Does he have? I mean, that's what you want from the joke man. Hey,
it's funny. Laugh. And his teeth look spectacular. I don't know. Those are.
I'm jealous.
Brian, what else do we have? We're pushing an hour.
I thought you were breaking up with me.
No, and I don't even know where he got that from. Like, I literally said, like, hey, this is. I'm like, this is what we're doing.
No, you're dying.
Now I'm dying. Good question. Who talks more, Jackie or Brian? It's a valid question. It is a very, very valid question.
What's going on in the world of coronavirus? India still seems to be getting worse. Yesterday, I believe they announced over 400,000 new cases. They announced over 4,000 deaths from coronavirus. So according to Preeti Uppsala, India is doing great, way better than America. And we need to worry about the economy.
And also unsettling news, and that the U.S. is unlikely to reach herd immunity due to the spread of the different COVID-19 variants, and the fact that many Americans remain reluctant to get vaccinated.
Listen, this is America. We have embraced a freedom lifestyle of the government can't tell me what to do. We embraced it. We allowed it to become normalized. So what's going to end up happening is that there's going to be a segment of the society that is going to embrace science, embrace vaccines. They're going to be safe. They're not going to get sick from this disease. The people who are going to deny science, deny the vaccines, they're going to actually, in all seriousness, what you're going to see is activities are going to become restricted to those who are unvaccinated. In New York, they announced that at Yankee and Met games after May 19th, that they will have sections of 100% capacity for fully vaccinated people, and people who are not vaccinated will be forced to sit in 33% capacity sections. You're going to see Broadway's coming back.
Yes.
And I think you're also going to see segregation in September when they open. I think you're going to see unvaccinated people be sitting separately, separate but equal. Well, they are going to have equal seats.
What they seem to be shooting for now, too, is, understanding that it will never be eradicated, trying to keep it to the level of a mild infection or get it to where it's treatable, and hopefully bring that fatality rate down. On the plus side, the Moderna vaccine has shown to be 96% effective in 12 to 17-year-olds. Now, this is interesting, Brian.
And why? Hold on a second, Ron. Why is it that we knew Moderna was going to be effective between the 12 to 16-year-olds?
I mean, it's the gold standard. But what is interesting behind the science here is it's still 2 shots for the 12 to 17-year-olds. The first shot causes the children to grow the receptors that they don't currently have that would allow them to catch COVID. And then the second shot treats the resistors to keep them from getting the COVID.
In your face, Dr. Drew, known vaccine specialist.
I mean, I can see when you have people like Dr. Drew, Joe Rogan, people like that coming out against vaccines. I can understand
medical experts
why that is where you'd want to take your medical advice from.
I think it's yes, absolutely.
Kudos to Moderna and their pro-receptor technology, just really knocking it out of the park.
Yes, gotta love it.
And they made Moderna made $3.4 billion on a vaccine.
And because Joe Biden decided that corporate America was making too much, announced yesterday that he was going to rule that the intellectual property behind these vaccines, he was going to make free to all countries, thereby taking away the financial benefits of these patents. Big pharma stocks, which I own none of, immediately tanked today. Good for them. Fuck them all. Ron, do you want to do a quick stonks update for us?
Stonks?
Stonks.
I mean, it was just a bloodbath this week in the stock market. Reds all over the board. Our favorite Labor Smart, which
Dow's at an all-time high. The S&P 500 is near all-time. What are you talking about? This has not been a bloodbath. This has been a great week for established blue chip stocks. This is America saying that the economy is doing great. People are making Dogecoin is about to break $1. Thanks. We should be bathing in money, Ron. How are we doing portfolio-wise?
We're not bathing in money. And our very favorite stock, Labor Smart, was down around 4 cents today. So
I think it closed below 4 cents today. Wasn't it just recently over close to 7 cents?
We were getting up over 6. Again, we've got new product coming out. I still feel good as a long hold. I will always say that. I feel good as a long hold. But
taking a bath.
We're not retiring anytime. Between that and dropping money on Jackie the Joke Man cameos, I am not retiring anytime soon.
Next level, hydrogen water.
Or your hydrogen water. Keep us in. We never posted the link for our affiliate program, so we'll make sure we do that this week, where you can buy your hydrogen water. They're going to be coming out with energy shots soon, so we'll roll those out. And we get a little taste. Nothing wrong with that. We need to make a little money here.
Gotta wet our beak.
Do we want to hit this baby name story before we get out of here?
Of course, Ron. So once a year, we always sit there and say, hey, if we were going to have a baby, what would be a good name for this baby? So our good friends over at Buzzfeed shot us a link to an article that they had just put up. Good Mike basically garnered together the names from another website that did this called Nameberry, Nameberry. And basically, country by country, ranking the top 5 girl names and the top 5 boy names. And what was the number 1 male name? And I know that is, I'm approaching this from a binary perspective, which I know we do not live in a binary world, but those closed-minded people at BuzzFeed can go fuck themselves. They're not our friends. Ron, what was the number 1 boy name in the world in 2020?
It was Arlo. Wasn't it?
As in very popular current top 40 rapper Arlo Guthrie?
Possibly. Or I have a camera system at my home named Arlo.
Yeah, now the hackers know how to take control of your security system. Now they know you have an Arlo. What the fuck? Nobody's naming their kid Arlo.
And apparently Luna is big for female names as well.
I don't see that happening. What was the number 1 name in China?
Gina. Let me take a look here. Hold on.
Kailani, Lisan, Luna, Tegan, Julianne. Yeah, no, China's not naming their kids these. Boy names in China: Jordy, Milo, Arlo, Ethan, Asher. My God, it sounds like kids that are paying $80 a gram all over the place. This is,
I believe,
lunacy.
Those are the kids in BTS. Those 5 boy names you just read off.
Is it really?
I have no idea. I'm only about 10% sure who or what BTS is.
Okay, BTS. It's Bind, Torture, and Scream. It was a serial killer in Idaho. Do you want me to try to pronounce the top 5 names in Ireland?
I would love, and only if you do it in somewhat of a Cockney accent.
Couldn't even. I think Cockney is not Irish. I'm just no. I'm not going to. The girl names are Fiad, Fiadh, Ada, Caumhe, Caoimhe, Caume. Number 4 is Eabha, Eabha. Number 5 is Zoe, Zoe. Boy names. These are a lot easier to pronounce.
All right.
Tadhg. There's only one vowel there. 4 consonants. Do the math. It's not going to work. Cormac, Ronan, for obviously Ronan Farrow.
Right.
He was very prominent in the Woody versus Mia documentary, and I know it went over. It was number 1 show in Ireland. Then you've got Eoin, Eoin, 3 vowels in a row, always going to be perceived well in the school ground. Last was Atticus.
And let's look at U.S. top 5 U.S. girl names: Luna, Maeve, Aurora, Isla, and Aurelia. And then boy names: number 1, Silas; 2, Atticus; 3, Arlo, which we already hate; 4, Theodore; and 5, Finn, which I have a cat named Finn. So that's all I think about when I see that.
You do have a cat named Finn.
I do.
He's the friendliest of your cats.
He is, without a doubt.
So I'm going to call bullshit on this whole thing.
I mean, it is BuzzFeed, so I think you need to take it with a grain of salt. Normally, you would have had to take a quiz to find out what your best boy or girl name would be, depending on the type of cheese that you like.
Mm-hmm. What?
What's
going on with Britney Spears? Is she going to talk? Is she going to talk publicly?
I don't know, but there's a quiz here. We can decide what is cheugy. Brian, are you aware of this term, cheugy?
Of course, I know what cheugy is.
And what is it?
It's a term for when people are trying too hard, or something that was kind of popular but has already passed its expiration date.
So it is something that's out of date, yes, or trying too hard. So let's decide.
Ron. I subscribe to Urban Dictionary Word of the Day. So yesterday I learned what cheugy is.
All right. So Brian, let's take this quick quiz. Ugg boots, cheugy or not cheugy?
Not cheugy.
Really?
Oh, no. Are you talking my personal opinion or what this quiz is going to say?
No, your personal opinion.
Oh, personal opinion. Ugg boots were disgusting the second they came out.
All right. Cheugy, it is. Chevron print, cheugy or not cheugy?
Don't even know what chevron print is. I always thought that was the name of a gas station.
Cargo shorts, cheugy or not cheugy?
Not cheugy.
Oh, really? All right.
I like cargo shorts.
Anything that says, but first coffee.
No, not cheugy.
All right. Captioning a social media post about a personal accomplishment with, I did a thing.
Cheugy.
Cheugy. All right. The Office merch.
Like the TV show?
Yes.
Cheugy.
Referring to a dog as a doge or doggo.
No, you can still call Doge, yes, but doggo, you can still call them doggos.
Anything that celebrates rosé.
Cheugy.
All right. Boat shoes.
Cheugy.
Side parts. Not even sure what that means. Oh, like a hair side part.
Yeah. No, I don't think cheugy.
Thank you. Good. Skinny jeans.
Not cheugy.
Using Axe body spray.
Cheugy.
Any kind of live, laugh, love decor. Gucci belts.
Cheugy.
Pretty
Upala.
Cheugy. And finally, anything that relates to hashtag girl boss. I'm going not
As a
cheugy.
guy, cheugy.
You know why that is? They hate to see girl bosses winning.
I don't. Yes.
Anything else?
What about Ron and Brian podcast, 3rd anniversary show? Cheugy?
Way not cheugy. It might be the best thing that you've watched in the last hour and 13 minutes and change.
Now there are people who are sitting there saying, I want more.
If you want
how do they get more?
You go to our Patreon, go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, click on the link, and become a member. If you're a bronze level or higher, you can join us live after dark. That will start in about 16 minutes. So if you join now, you can get on the Ron and Brian After Dark bus real quick. We're about to get out of here. We got a new intro. Hopefully you all enjoyed the new intro that we'll be using going forward. And we have a new little outro, so don't go anywhere. Sit there for the next 30 plus seconds to watch that. But Brian, anything else before we wrap up this, our 3rd anniversary special?
Ron, you will never be cheugy.
You either, my friend. You're always on point. And we look forward to doing this for many more years. Thank you all that have been with us for 3 years, or if you've just been with us, if this is your first show, thank you for joining us also. I saw we had some people on Twitch. Thank you for joining over there and commenting. And we will be back next Thursday at 8 p.m. for the regular podcast. If you are a Patreon member, we'll see you in a few minutes. Brian, what else do you have?
Eternal love for you.
The same, my friend. So we will catch you all next week.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week, Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again next week.